Hello everyone, it's Dom from Esports News UK at EpicLAN. It's coming up to midnight on the Saturday of the community party, and I'm joined by one of the legends of EpicLAN and LANs and CS LANs in general, Gumpster. How's it going, Gumpster?
Well, it's been quite a weekend this weekend. Quite a little bit stressful here and there, but it's been quite enjoyable.
Good. And you are, I've said this to a few people this weekend, a walking encyclopedia of EpicLAN, stats and facts. So what stats do you have for us from this event, Gump?
So I can tell you quite easily that AC, who reached the StarCraft 2 final, has only missed 3 EpicLAN events since we introduced StarCraft 2. And he last won a title 8 years ago in 2015 in StarCraft 2 with us. But unfortunately he got beaten, so he never got right his redemption arc there. He got beaten by Figaro tonight in the StarCraft 2 final, but it was close, 4-2.
So that first final's finished, the other finals are all to conclude on Sunday, right?
Yeah, so Overwatch finished earlier tonight as well, which was a pretty big stomping. First time we've done Overwatch in nearly 4 years now. Mostly because Blizzard's rules have sort of eased up a little bit and Overwatch League is now dead, unfortunately. So we had 4 teams for this event for Overwatch, and I think it was Tread Gaming, who have got like some academy players that are now in a big team for Overwatch. They managed to stomp Horrocks kind of mix basically in the final, so it was good fun.
Good stuff. And I have to say, Gump, I was interviewing Jackie and the TLR boys earlier, and I realised at the end this is the UK's first CS2 LAN. So how's that been? I mean, we've had some royalty here, right? Soulcast on screen.
We have, yeah, certainly. This is the first UK CS event and one of the first European events as well. Because
CS2.
Yeah, in CS2. So it's kind of a privilege. I was there 11 years ago at iSeries when CSS passed the baton to CSGO, and anything could go wrong at these kind of tournaments, and there was a few issues throughout the weekend, but for the most part CS2 has run incredibly smoothly this weekend.
I'd say in general EpicLAN is run smoothly. I know Valorant, there was a few people stressing in the staff area, Valorant's behind a little bit, but it happens, right? You might get a team showing up late, this and that. You seem like you have a very calm demeanour, Gump. Is that from years of experience at Epic, or are you inside stressing out?
I leave the stressing out now to other people, mostly because what I've seen over the years, I just cope with it now. It's just become part of my exterior. And secondly, when you get to a point where everyone else is stressing, there can become too many cooks in the kitchen, which is what I said to my team leader Gio earlier, who's a paid employee of Epic. I don't want to step on anyone else's toes, so I took the sort of step back just to make sure that if there is any need for me to make a decision, I can come in with an impartial kind of viewpoint basically and make sure that I defuse the situation, which is what I've needed to do several times this weekend between various people. So yeah, but Valorant is slightly behind, mostly because some of the games have been going to a third map, and all of those games have been going to overtime as well. So it's been really, really tough in that lower bracket. Upon reflection, you look at it and you come back after that event and you think, well, maybe we should do best of 1 in the lower bracket. It's just a fine line you have to find every event, with making sure you keep the player well-being in check and also your volunteer team well-being in check. But yeah, I don't like to get stressful over it all. I just let it go.
I try not to get stressed as well, but it's really hard in UK sports. You mentioned diffusing the situation. Was that an intended CS pun?
Yeah. The slip of the tongue, obviously.
I like it. I like puns, intended or not. Right? They're good for clips and that as well. You mentioned staff there, Gum, and it's a great volunteer team. John thanked him at the 20th birthday talk. He did a little speech earlier. You've got a lot of volunteers here, but then staff, I think there's 6 and John, right? So 7. So I have to ask, you've been here a long time. Is that something you've considered? Because I'm sure John has offered you things.
Yeah, I mean, considered.
You want to keep it as a hobby, or?
It's difficult, Dom. Like, I have done 10 years with EpicLAN now, and there is a part of me thinking, you know, I need to step up and do something different, but then it's also a lot to walk away from as well. Like, you know, a lot of people enjoy my calm demeanour in the staff area, and I'm quite proud of the fact of what I've achieved over the years from a distance. You know, I've not been a paid employee, and you know, there was probably an opportunity late last year, and like I said to John late last year, you need to pick the right man for the job, and if I'm not the right man for the job, then I'd rather it go to the right man, because I'm not selfish in that way. I can you know, navigate my own path where needs be, but I'd rather John make the decision on having the right person for that role. And last year Epic got a contract in a particular esport that I probably haven't got much passion for, and like Gio was the natural person to have on board for that, because his passion is in that particular title, so it made sense. Whereas for me, it's kind of just more of a love project now. Like, the amount of volunteers that come through our doors, the amount of people I've helped move on with experience of doing league ops, for example, is something that I've championed over the years. You know, I've had many people now go into tier 1 events and do well, and we're now seen by certain tournament organisers as their talent feed for that reason. So, you know, it's just one of my legacy points. Like, my ethos is to have a good working atmosphere over in the staff area.
Well, I know I haven't been to EpicLAN a lot. You know, don't want to get into all my personal life, but with the kids and that, becoming a dad, it's been hard for me to go to many events in a year. But I want to come to more. I've enjoyed it a lot. But at the same point, even though I haven't been to a lot, I've covered a lot.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine Epic without you, to be honest. It'd be a strange thing.
Yeah, it would be. But it's just one of those things where you think, well, where do I go now? I've done, like, when I first started as, back when it was Esports manager, I had a plan of what I wanted to achieve and what kind of titles we wanted, what kind of working ethos I wanted, how I wanted the staff area to be, how I wanted the communities to be, and see us as the sort of big esports kind of push. And I think I've managed to achieve that over the years, and a lot of that hard work has paid off. So my choice now is, and this birthday has come at the right time, it's kind of a point of reflection, but also a point of thinking, well, where do I go now? What's the goalpost that I need to set myself going forward?
See, people ask me that question. What do you do? What could you do? Grow your team? I'm kind of content where I am. But would I look back on that later on and regret it? It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's ultimately for you to think about and decide, I guess.
Yeah, naturally, it's a very difficult question sort of answer, and I've struggled over the last few months, like, to try and work out what can we do different, or do we need to do anything different? You know, we've got into a really good place now where CS is, we believe, and someone might want to fact check this, but we believe we are now the single biggest Counter-Strike LAN in Europe because of how many teams we have.
Was it 32 this weekend?
It was 32 this event. And the DreamHacks are only getting like 20. Assembly only got about 18 or 19.
Wow, I can't believe
so
that.
Some of the bigger LANs aren't getting the numbers we do in terms of Counter-Strike. So I see that as something of my achievement, that the Counter-Strike scene believes in us and what we do as an ethos.
How did you manage to tame that beast that is UK CS? Because they're not afraid to speak their mind on social media. I haven't seen complaints and things this weekend.
So, for the most part, it's working out what they're actually wanting. And a lot of the feedback that we get from event to event, was quite similar. You know, seeding issues, or there's bracket issues, or the timings are wrong. You know, certain things we could control. So we introduced during like the pandemic a seeding panel. So Finn has this master document where he builds all the profiles. Yeah, he builds all the profiles for all the teams that are going to be participating in the tournament. And then he sends that out to 8 panelists, or however many we need, basically. And those people then give us back, and then we average it out. And then it just works. And the CS community love it, because then they get a pot draw on stage where they can congregate here at the stage, watch the group draw happen like a Champions League. And it's all fair. No one can moan about what pots they're in, because that's all been researched by one man or a few people. And also the fact that, you know, the scene have got involved with that. And the more you involve them, the more they're going to get involved in the actual like LAN itself and be a part of that running of it. And that's what a lot of other tournament organisers don't really understand, or maybe not really care about, is sometimes the community, yes, they are quite abrasive and aggressive, or, you know, visual on Twitter, they're always going for the Twitter clout, but you've got to get to that root cause of the problems and think, how do you communicate with them? And we've done that over the years.
Look through the past the memes in a way, to the root cause. Like
Exactly. Making sure that they know that they are being catered for. That yes, there are problems. You know, a lot of players will say prize pool's not big enough or anything like that, and I agree. Well,
for what it is.
I mean, naturally, like we're a community level event. There's only so much you can do. Yeah. But I know that on screen mentioned it earlier, that our prize pool hasn't really gone up over the years. It has stayed pretty much constant the same. So if you factor in inflation, you're not actually getting much out of that prize pool now. But really, there's only so much you can do with that. That's really out of our control, because we need more sponsors, or we need, you know, you just need more logistics around it. Where the business is going now, we're definitely on the right path for that. So
I want to add, I may take this bit out if I need to, but John did tell me earlier, and I didn't realise, or I'd forgotten, EpicLANs actually make a loss. It's the white label stuff that John does well on.
Yeah, so all 3 events this year made a loss.
Yeah, I don't know if people realise that. You know, it's not easy to raise the prize pools and make it sustainable and this and that. We do, you know, you've got good sponsors here, Overclockers, Intel, Draytech and so on. But yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it, I guess, you know?
Well, I can tell you what our biggest challenge was, and that was obviously when Kettering Conference Centre decided to shut and finding a new venue. We were finding that very difficult. So the community helped out, and they gave us loads of suggestions of where venues are and stuff like that, and that really helped, having that input from the community. But the problem is what we were finding is some of those venues are 6-figure venues, and it's just insane costs. And it wasn't just the venue hire cost that was the problem, it was the additions that they were then stipulating, like power and
I know Insomnia
has this problem. Where, you know, you have to charge for a certain amount of power, or charge a certain amount for the internet. Like, that's not cheap, and it really isn't at this point. And those venues, I just don't understand those venues. When you've got someone knocking on the door for an event like this, it's easy money, but it's also money you're turning away because you've made your venue hire so expensive. So obviously when Kettering, the news of it being saved again was brilliant, because it's a lot cheaper than a lot of other venues of relatively the same size, and we're finding ourselves very lucky in that position.
It's a lovely venue. I am Kettering. I didn't like writing that article earlier this year, RIP I am Kettering, but it's back again.
Yeah, that's a great meme that the CS community brought in. So much so that Intel loved it. Intel absolutely loved it, and we've been playing around with that kind of meme itself. So technically the Counter-Strike tournament is called the Intel Epic Masters Cup.
Lovely.
So
I love it. Gump, I've got to ask you, who was I interviewing earlier? I think it was Ali G for the last
TLR,
result, TLR. Has obviously been to a lot of LANs. I think it was him. I can't remember who it was now, but they said there was one LAN they remembered with you. They were talking about a player that doesn't go to LANs anymore. I can't remember this player's name, but he was always really on it, you know, pretty direct and forthright. And I think they started a match against whoever Ali G was with at the time.
yeah,
And Ali G and half his team weren't ready and thought it was just a muckabout thing. And when they got all off the stream and did all this stuff, they were like 5-0 down or something. And the other team were going, it's started, it's counting. And they were pressuring you apparently. And they were like, oh, Gump, that one time Gump buckled. And he went, yeah, all right, it started, you have to go with it. Do you remember that? And tell me about that.
I remember something like that. Yeah. There was a time when I buckled. And I think it was like a JChem incident, basically.
Okay.
And I defaulted them because they disappeared for food. Or something like that.
Okay.
They disappeared for food and then came back like 2 hours later.
Oh, no, yeah, well, that's understandable, isn't it? For you to default it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then didn't tell any of the admins. And I was like, well, if you told me, maybe we could have allowed something, no? I'm quite, we're all here to play games, so I always believe in the ethos of we're here to play games. That's the first big thing.
Yeah.
Like, if we can prevent doing that, we will.
Yeah.
But there is a schedule to stick to, and there is, a precedent to stick to.
Yeah.
And I remember buckling on that one. That they started playing, and I just ended up going with the flow because there wasn't much I could do about it.
I'm not picking on you, by the way.
No,
it was
no,
just
no.
It was an anecdote that came up, and I thought, I wonder if Gump has a funny story on that. You've done a great job over the years, and it's a good. Yeah, it's like John's saying, it is a good team of volunteers here. And let's not forget, I'm doing this interview as well because it's 20 years of EpicLAN. So is there anything you want to talk about this milestone, this 40th LAN?
So I'm gonna just mention this one because I think it's funny in itself. But the first time we came to Kettering, I don't know if you remember the stories around it, but the internet was shocking here. So shocking, we actually had to hire in a satellite dish for the internet, which then failed for that weekend. And it was just like, oh God, what have we done?
I think I missed that. It might have been around the time where my personal life, had changed or something, and I might have missed that one.
Yeah, so that was one of my that was my first LAN as staff. And I remember walking into Epic and being part of the setup and seeing the behind the scenes kind of thing. And I remember John and the whole crew just being so friendly and being welcoming. And we obviously got off to a good start by having a lot of banter with each other. And that weekend just flew by with loads of problems. And it wasn't really my responsibility back then because I was just dealing with CSGO. And I was thinking, I'm only coming back for one event, And then, I've stuck with it ever since. It's just part of history. That was supposed to be my retirement event. That's how bad it was.
What keeps bringing you back, Gump? What is it about EpicLAN?
Everyone in the communities, really. Getting to... the LAN hasn't changed much, but the people do change. And yet, we still get some old familiar faces like On Screen and Soulcast and Smoothyer as well.
I've been sitting with a group of people that have been here since Epic 1.
Yeah.
Older than me, can you believe it?
Yeah.
And they've been so welcoming to me, chatting and everything. I can tell that it's that sense of community. It's lovely here.
Yeah, and exactly. And that's the kind of thing that just keeps me bringing me back, is doing it for the volunteers, but also getting to mingle with all the communities. Like StarCraft 2 community, they're lovely. They cause us lots of problems, but they're lovely. 9 times out of 10. And it's just nice to see everyone every event and think we're putting on these events and we get a sense of enjoyment out of it because everyone else is enjoying it. And when it happens like that, and sometimes that's a rare thing. When you think everything has gone so well all weekend, you walk away so proud of that fact. And it's difficult to maintain because every event is different. Logistically sometimes we'll change things up network wise and sometimes that causes problems. But we keep coming back and we keep problem solving things really quickly. Like, so at Wolverhampton, for example, last event, we had the internet go down, up and down on the first night, and the tech team, there's only 6 members of the tech team, right? But they stayed on all night and problem solved it, and then eventually fixed it, and then the internet worked so smoothly for the rest of the weekend. And that's a credit to them, and a credit to our volunteers who do wonderful work all weekend.
Good teamwork. And I saw the talk. There was little tours of Staff's uni. It's good that you're engaging with students now as well and helping, with future careers for people and things like that. I'm conscious of time. I know it's very late now. It's probably near midnight. I've done this in the wrong order. We're wearing these to celebrate with the community party. You've got a sort of Christmassy jumper. I've got a sort of 80s Pac-Man thing, but it's been fun. Gump, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just keep coming to EpicLAN, keep supporting your grassroots LAN events, whether it is EpicLAN or other events. Keep coming to these events. These are the core part of gaming, and enjoy them for what they are.
100%. You heard it from the man. Gump, thanks for talking to me. Thanks to EpicLAN and also Index for sponsoring my content. Drop Gumpster and EpicLAN a follow, and I'll see you all soon.
Bye.